Good afternoon, welcome back to my No Name channel. I'm Bruce and this is another Bali COVID-19 update for May 9th. And well, good news and bad news, kind of like always. So let's start with the numbers. Okay, so let's look at the numbers. For yesterday, 113 new positive cases, that gives us 45,655. 43,060 recoveries, 1,402 deaths, and 1,193 active cases. So still can't get below the 1,000 number again. And out of those 113 cases, 106 were local, 6 were domestic travelers, and 1 was an international traveler. Okay, so what about by Regency? Denpasar 36, Buleleng 20, Tabanan 12, Bangli 12, Gianyar 11, Badung 9, Jembrana 6, Klungkung 1, and Karangasem 0. Okay, and so there's a lot of stuff to cover today, and well, I had my first shot yesterday of AstraZeneca here in Kampung Bugis. Here's a short clip my wife was filming. Okay, and so how did that work? Well, I felt not great yesterday. I felt okay immediately after. We had to wait for a half an hour, then get checked again, and then got sent home. And I got an SMS shortly after I got home telling me when to get vaccinated next, and I get vaccinated on July 31st. And yeah, well, today I'm not feeling really good. Last night I was feeling terrible. Last night, middle of the night. Today, okay, I'm a little hot, really stiff. So, yeah, there is a kick. It depends on who you are. I know some people that have felt almost nothing. Me, I felt really, really terrible. But getting better as the day goes on. And so, okay, let's get into this. There's a couple of interesting things, stories, but they're not vital. And they'll wait. I'll talk about them next week. I really just want to do this and go back and lay down for the rest of the day. Okay, so we've looked at the numbers, and now Bali governor confirms COVID variants on the island. So Bali's governor has said we have these variants now. So he explained that the new type of coronavirus, such as B1351 from South Africa and B117 from the UK, have been transmitted to Bali recently, causing the death of one patient at Sandla. That patient was from the Badung district. He had not received any vaccinations. The other patient, who was infected with the UK variant, had already been vaccinated twice. And so he got sick, but he's recovered. The Bali Health Agency has already begun tracing and tracking, trying to find out who's been in contact with the infected individuals. Dr. Surajaya said that it's unknown where the virus came from, how it got here, because he said the people that were infected hadn't really had a lot of contact with people. And the government reminded people to follow prevention protocols and support the vaccination program so that we can get this under control and open up. Okay, and what about vaccines? Well, this goes all the way back to to the last week. To right after the day after I finished last update. And so First, Bali receives vaccine shipments after days of running dry. So, as mentioned last week, Bali was short on vaccines, but a large shipment of Sinovac arrived, which is being distributed to 4 regions. Still not enough for everybody. This is the first story, so there are stories as it develops. So hang on. So 157,200 doses arrived last week on May 1st. The vaccine was distributed by TempoScan Pacifica Limited, and the 4 regions it distributed to were Badung, Tabanan, Jembrana, and Buleleng. And good and bad news about Buleleng, and I'll get to that in a minute. The plan was to no distribution was possible in Bangli due to an insufficient supply because, and I mentioned this before, they were planning to set up. Maybe I didn't. They're planning on setting up 7 green zones in the tourist areas in Bangli, and so they want to get those vaccinated first, and they need 20,000 doses to do that. In the 7 villages in Bangli that are the target, Kubu, Apuan, Tambuka, Batu Utara, Batu Tengah, and Batu Selatan, and Kadisan. And so those are all tourist areas, and so the plan was to do that. Well, the vaccines are starting to roll out, and so that's the next story. Bali received 500,000 doses on Monday, 100 vials of Sinovac and 50 vials of AstraZeneca. And these vaccines were going to be distributed throughout Bali. Okay, so there's another 500,000. So you're getting these in kind of shots. You get a couple here, and then a couple days later we get some more. And Buleleng got 50,000 doses of that. And Buleleng plans on vaccinating most of the population within the next 2 weeks with the 50,000 doses of AstraZeneca. So Buleleng got 50,000 doses. And I heard yesterday from the local government here announcing plans to, or requesting people to bring a photocopy of their KTP to the Lura's office to get registered for the vaccine. I guess next week after Eid al-Fitr. So the government and Buleleng was meeting to decide who's going to get that. So it sounds to me like what I heard from the announcement, the public announcement, was everybody. If you're living here, you're over 18, you're supposed to go sign up. The secretary of the Buleleng COVID-19 task force, Pak Suyasa, said that he was optimistic that they'll be able to reach their target by May 19th. And Undixa, the university, is going to assist in the effort along with community leaders to get everybody vaccinated. The former head of the Buleleng Youth and Sports Education Office said that 57,000 of the target of 117,000 in Buleleng has already been reached. So that's 50% basically. But I see today on the news, Buleleng is a red zone again. Okay, so I mentioned this before. You can go from a red zone to an orange zone to a green zone and back and forth. Nothing's certain. So when people go, gee, well, okay, they're a green zone. Cool, it's finished. It's not finished. This is something the government is saying over and over again. You have to remain vigilant. Okay, so vaccines are taking place around the island, Tabanan, and Bangli. Tabanan is vaccinating migrant workers this week, Jembrana, factory workers, Kampung Bugis, like I said, and Kampung Kajanan, the next kampung over. I heard their announcement just very vaguely, very vaguely is not the word I want. What's the word I want? Just barely. Okay. And so, yeah, so that's the vaccine situation. We've got the vaccines coming in again, so vaccinations are ongoing, and that's good news for everybody. Okay, and so another vaccination story. Speeding COVID-19 vaccination in Bali, target of 500,000 people in 2 weeks. The government plans to accelerate vaccinations in all districts and cities. The target is 500,000 within the next 2 weeks. The head of the Bali Health Agency, Dr. Ketut Swarjaya, said that Bali vaccine stock has received an additional boost this past week, and I've already mentioned that. And he said the AstraZeneca AstraZeneca vaccine, that's the one I had, will be distributed to 500,000 people in the general public, as well as 1,000 TNE members. TNE, the military. And the Sinovac goes for a second dose. So he said that 770,000, so that's, the second dose is supposed to be Sinovac. I'm not sure why are they supposed to be doing that? I guess, I don't know. I have to check. He said that 770,000 people have been vaccinated, and of that 300,000 have received 2 doses. So and then he said the target is 2 million, but it depends on the supply of vaccines from the government. So I don't know that this target, one person says it's 2 million, one person says it's 3 million. 3 million is 70%. If we're going saying 70% is the target that you want to reach for herd immunity, if we get to 2 million, well, that's more like 50%, even less than 50%. And if we've got 770,000 now, and we get another 500,000 in the next 2 weeks, that still leaves us, 700,000 short of the 2 million mark. And 2 weeks would put us at the end of May. So that's why I'm saying June does not seem possible at all in terms of that. But the vaccination is, as I've said, is going on all over Bali, everywhere. So today, when I was down getting my vaccination, there were a fair number of people. Not everybody in Kampung Bugis is getting vaccinated. Some of them don't want to. Too bad. Next story on vaccinations. 8.4 million Indonesians have been fully vaccinated. This is out of 270 million people. So according to government figures, as of Friday, a couple of days ago, 8.4 million people have been fully vaccinated, a tiny fraction of the 270 million population. Those fully vaccinated came from health workers, 1.3 million, public sector workers, 5.4 million, and elderly citizens, 1.7. The country has administered a total of 13.1 million doses of Sinovac and AstraZeneca. So, rolling out slow. In order to accelerate the vaccination drive, the government is going to allow private sector to vaccinate its employees. The state-run pharmaceutical company Biopharma is going to be in charge of getting the vaccines in order to make sure that there's no black markets going on, and so far has secured several deals. One for 15 million doses of the Sinovac, and one for 20 million doses of Sputnik 5, the Russian one. The health ministry said that the target population will be expanded by July, so they're going to start vaccinating more people. So we're not really on target yet. And what about the face painter? We're going to get back to this again in our naughty foreigners section of the update. So the face painter has been deported. So final update on the face painting. A couple that I've talked about for the last few videos. And why is this important? Well, 2 reasons. One, because the Immigration Ministry is taking this seriously enough that they posted these images on social media, and the governor himself ordered her deported, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So the Instagrammers, influencers, YouTubers noted that they did not expect that this prank would get such negative response, and so she was deported because of violations according to the governor's regulation number 10 of 2021. And she was put on a flight to Jakarta and then on a flight to Moscow via Dubai. And she also violated Article 75, Paragraph 1 of Law Number 6, year 2011. So they got her on a couple of things. And according to the governor, this firm action was taken to provide lessons for every foreigner visiting or traveling to Indonesia. They are obliged to obey the applicable laws in order to uphold the dignity of the country in front of the world. And so this is one of the key points here. Do not embarrass the government. Do not embarrass government officials. One of the first things you learn here, if you're dealing with immigration or any kind of civil authorities or the police, don't embarrass them, because they take that really seriously. And so this case made it internationally, and so it embarrassed everybody. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So the governor took firm action, and this is the example, as he said. Don't mess with us anymore, because we're going to get serious. The young man in this duo, this pair, was found not guilty of violating anything, even though he made the video, and I'm assuming that he was the one who painted her face, unless she did it herself. But he was not deported, and well, I don't know what happened to him. I wasn't able to find any information out. Maybe he's still in Bali, I don't know. She is not. Be interesting to see her Instagram account if it's open, and see what she has to say about all this. That's that. Well, kind of that. But the Bali's governor says he's getting scolded over religious ceremonies, problematic tourists by the Indonesian ministers. So Bali's governor says that he's scratching his head over religious ceremonies and problematic tourists because he's been scolded by Indonesian ministers for failing to keep them in line. And he said that ministers from Jakarta have been sending him photos and news clips showing religious ceremonies taking place and tourists violating local regulations. So this has become an issue with the central government as well. And so this is like anything else. You do something wrong, your immediate head is upset and he's dealing with it, but then his boss finds out about it and then he gets on his case, and so it just cascades. Well, so at a press conference to announce the deportation of the face painter, the governor said, honestly, whenever something happens in Bali involving foreign nationals violating the law, I always get videos and photos sent to me from ministers in Jakarta. Well, obviously he's not happy about that. And as the situation in India and now Nepal is getting worse and worse, the governor's been warned to be extra careful in allowing religious ceremonies to take place in Bali, and assuming also that means to keep foreigners in check, make sure they're following the law. So the governor noted that he's asked for strict implementation of the health and safety protocols, but he has not banned religious ceremonies, but they should not go on unrestrained. And so that's trying to keep things in check. And of course we have Idul Fitri, Lebaran coming up in a few more days, and so there's a big ceremony. And well, let's talk about Mudik for a minute. So the police net hundreds of homegoers, Mudik travelers, without antigen certificates. So the Badung traffic police found hundreds of passengers going home to Java without an antigen rapid test certificate at the Mengwi terminal, right? That's the terminal down just north of Denpasar, where you catch buses around the rest of the island. The head of the Badung police, Patsuputra, said that people were already seated on the bus but didn't have their certificates with them when they were asked to show them to authorities. So passengers who didn't have their certificates had their names recorded, and then the police coordinated with the Mengwi Community Health Center to provide the test. After undergoing the test and proving negative, they were allowed to travel on their way. So there were about 450 people at the time of this. I guess it was kind of like a raid or an inspection. There were about 450 people at the terminal, 15 buses, 30 people on a bus, and they're traveling early to beat the ban, right? So there's the ban on Mudik, and this happens every year. I've been talking about this before. It happens every year. You've got a ban. You can't go home, so they're going to go home early, right? Because, well, what's today? I guess the ban's already started now. This is the 9th. Well, so the ban started on the 5th. So they were trying to beat the ban. So, yeah, this kind of stuff is sometimes seems kind of pointless. But so everybody's involved in this. Religious ceremonies, getting home for Mudik, foreigners violating protocols. And, well, as you heard in the section on vaccines and the numbers section, we've got new variants here. And so people need to stay alert and stay aware, stay disciplined. And I can see the governor is, well, scratching his head. How are we going to deal with this? Immigration authorities deport 32 Indians denied entry to Indonesia. Okay, and I mentioned last time that India was going to be banned. Indian nationals were going to be banned from coming. So, immigration authorities at the airport, Soekarno-Hatta Airport, denied entry to 32 Indians because of the spike in COVID-19 there. They were placed on an Emirates flight back to Dubai, or over to Dubai, in line with the policy issued by immigration on April 23rd. The policy denies entry to foreign nationals who have a history of travel to India in the past 14 days. Indonesian citizens can come back, but they've got to do a 14-day quarantine. Indians are not being allowed in, and so they took these 32 and sent them back. Before departure, they were placed in a special room at the airport supervised by immigration officers, airport security, and port health quarantine officers. You remember last week I was talking about a bunch of Indians disappeared. They were supposed to be quarantined. Well, they were making sure that this didn't happen this time. Only cargo flights from India are being allowed into the country, no passengers. I guess Indonesian nationals, but they can come back another way. That's things are tightening up. If you take a look at last week's video, you'll see a comment there where Russell's talking about being his situation in quarantine and what happened, and I've seen reports on social media about this where they've really gotten strict. They're following the 9 points, taking your passport when you get into transportation to make sure you don't dodge, wearing name tags, and hotels not giving you a key. Taking the passports as well, but not giving you a key either to the room, so you can't get out. So, yeah, it's kind of like being in a luxury jail. But, hey, that's good. Okay, so let's talk about the opening, right? Still everybody's hoping. So, first story. Gianyar claims Ubud is ready to be open to foreign tourists by July. According to Gianyar authorities, if the tourism border is opened in July, Ubud will be ready to welcome foreign tourists. According to Pak Putrawan, vaccination programs have been carried out in 4 villages, Ubud, Patulu, Sayang, and Kedawatan. Vaccinations continue so that all 8 villages in the Ubud district will be vaccinated before July. And the Gianyar Regency government is requiring all tourist attractions, including accommodations, to apply for and obtain the CHSE certificate, and I've talked about this many times. Additionally, a tracing app has been or is being prepared by the Gianyar Regency Communication and Information Agency, so that when the border opens, the Ministry of Communication and Information is ready to activate the app at 6 postal points or entrances to Ubud. And authorities say that everyone in Ubud is very enthusiastic about participation in the vaccination program and are striving together to make Ubud into a green zone. So Ubud says they're ready to go. And, well, we've heard it in the past few that Sanur and Nusa Dua supposedly are all set to go in terms of vaccinations. So, we've got the 3 green zones, right? And then there's other places that are trying to become green zones, the areas in Bali, and of course, I talked about Kuta and Legian before. They want to be part of this. And, well, in Lovina is doing the big, well, Buleleng is doing the big vaccination push right now. And as I said before, I got my vaccination today. So far, a little stiff, but nothing yet. And it's been 5 hours, and so far so good. Okay, so they're ready and to go, but we don't know what's happening. And as I've said a number of times today and last week, we've got Idul Fitri coming up in a few days, and so we're going to have to wait and see what happens after that, because people are traveling, as I mentioned, people are traveling. They're moving back and forth. So what's going to happen? And we have the new variants here. And so, yeah, are we going to open in July, June and July? I don't know, right? Okay, so that's it for this this video, Bali COVID-19 update for May 9th. And, well, good news and bad news. The good news is vaccinations are going on everywhere, and we got some extra vaccine. Yesterday, I think 1.4 million extra doses, so it didn't put this in the vaccine section. The vaccine section, right, was really big today. Why? Because vaccines are important. The vaccination program is important. This is what the government is banking opening on, and on bringing our cases down. We're still in the hundreds. And so, are we going to open in June? Well, June is, 3 weeks away? 3 weeks away. And, well, you see the numbers. We're going to get to 2 million by June, even with all the vaccinations going on. I don't know. Doesn't look like it. I would not bet on June. July, maybe. August, more likely. But it depends on what happens with Lebaran and with these new variants. Are we going to get a surge again? So it's hard to tell. Good news. So the good news is vaccinations are going on. The bad news is we've got new variants in. Some more good news. It looks like foreigners have gotten the message about the government kicking people out if they're not going to follow, because I was checking out a couple of influencer videos on YouTube, people that post pretty much every day, and a month ago they weren't wearing masks, they were driving their motorcycles around without helmets. When I saw their videos 2 days ago, everybody had masks on around them and everybody's wearing motorcycle helmets. So maybe the governor's get tough policy is working. Let's hope so. And if you want to come to Bali, if you're planning on coming to Bali, hang in there. Like I said, I don't think June's going to work, but maybe July will. It's hard to tell. So hang in there. If you're here, if you've come in, follow the protocols, wear a mask, get vaccinated, and, well, be kind to someone today. And thanks for viewing, and see you next time.